Hi guys, it's Sarge here from PaymentEye, and I'm joined today by Paul Rodgers, who is founder of Vendorcom, and we are at the Vendorcom Thought Leadership Conference being held at 1 Canada Square in Canary Wharf, and we've just wrapped up a pretty brilliant day.
What a day it's been. We've had so many people here and we've had so many different views, different opinions, lots of challenges to existing thinking. Phenomenal.
So, in terms of the kind of industry players we've had in today, we've had a broad range all the way through from the innovators to guys from the security side and mobile as well. And what would you say has come out as most prominent today from the different talks?
Well, I think the main thing is that the payments industry has got no really clear route map, and that we're going to have to stay right connected with everything that's going on if we're to try and work out what the next few steps are going to be even. So whether it's identity, authentication, mobile, all of those things are just up there for grabs.
One of the key themes that I felt came out in a lot of the talks was the importance of integration, bridging the gap, and having a seamless experience, be it for the consumer or within the different players in the industry. And I think it's really important to have events like this to facilitate the conversation and get people talking and have collaboration. So I think it's a really great effort on your behalf of putting it together.
Well, thanks for that. And I think given the number of people that were here today, I think that is something that the industry really needs to understand. It's 10 years since I set up Vendorcom. We've come a long way, but we've still got lots of challenges to face. And for me, the bottom line is that we work together, collaborate, even amongst competitors, so that we can deliver better solutions to the merchants that need them, ultimately to the customer.
So at today's event, we've had some real burning issues and topics of discussion. What would you say are the two most prominent and from today's keynote speeches?
Well, I've always said that there are really just two things that anybody supplying solutions to merchants really need to think about. One is finding out a way of bringing more customers to that particular merchant. And the second thing is making sure that that merchant can identify and authenticate that that consumer is who they say they are. Anything else, whilst being very valuable, is just a sideline issue. So we're going to initiate really quite a big debate, particularly around identity and authentication, because I think that's going to be crucial.
Where does big data come into that specifically?
Well, big data is a really interesting question, because one of the things that was said today was that big data is just lazy statistics. And I'm not sure that that's true. I think whilst we probably can get a good idea of where certain merchant sectors or where particular consumer sectors are active can be done by just getting a representative sample in a truly statistical way. The fact that we've got so much data and the fact that data is so easily stored and cheaply stored means that, big data has got to be taken, analysed and really turned into something that it's real for the merchant. And this is why I say that identity and authentication is really key, not just to authenticate a payment, but for a merchant to be able to understand that consumer and say, this is the product and the services that I'm going to direct towards that consumer.
You spoke about the understanding there, and there's a general sense from people in the industry that retailers or people on the other side are missing out on an opportunity with the amount of big data available, and there's a sense that do they need to get external expertise in, or is it something that has to be developed in-house?
The debate between whether somebody keeps something in-house or outsources it, it's just going to be one of those flip-flop decisions. But there's plenty of expertise in the payments industry, and I think that merchants should avail themselves of that. But at the same time, I think the payments industry needs to understand what it actually is that the merchants are trying to achieve with that data. And as I said, it's not just about authenticating the payment, it's about what additional use that information can be put to in relation to helping that retailer or merchant put a much more valid offering out to the consumer.
And in relation to that, are there any regulatory aspects to consider?
The regulatory side of the industry now is becoming a real minefield, particularly in Europe, but even in the UK. European Commission has put out its green paper last year on the route map for payments. The European Payments Council has got its consultation paper out on digital wallets at the moment, and that's all going to drive a new regulatory environment. The HM Treasury had put its consultation paper out on the future of the UK payments infrastructure, and frankly, if I'm going to be bold, I don't think that was worth the paper that was written on.
That's the opinion that's been held on a lot of regulatory work being put out at the moment, but how much of a hindrance rather than a help is it?
It's very difficult, because I do believe that there needs to be some regulation of the industry, but it needs to be done from an informed position. And when we look at the very, very naive statements that really don't reflect how the payments industry works, being put into these sort of strategy papers, it's really no basis for us to drive the future forward on. Now, I think one of the things in relation to that is that we need to make very strong differentiation between the payments industry as it relates to the merchant and consumer world, and the payments industry as it relates to deeper financial transactions, particularly between businesses. And they're two quite distinct markets in my mind.
Fantastic. And in relation to today and moving forward, what has Vendorcom got planned?
We've got a wide-ranging program. The main focus that we're going to have is on connecting the industry, so connecting the solution suppliers with each other, making sure that they're fully on board with all the topical issues that are going on in the industry, and making sure they understand what the opportunities are in the market. So it's a case of helping the industry stay connected to this really, really varied, changing landscape.
And for anyone who's interested in learning more about Vendorcom, following Vendorcom, I know you're very active on Twitter and all your social channels. How can they find out a little bit more?
Well, the Vendorcom website, vendorcom.com, is probably the best place to start, but also follow us on Twitter at Vendorcom, or follow myself, Paul_Vendorcom. That's usually a pretty good way to catch up with what's going on and my quirky opinions on what may or may not happen in the industry.
Great. So thanks for joining us today, Paul. And we from PaymentEye wish you all the best at Vendorcom, and hopefully facilitate some more great conversations soon.
Well, thanks very much. Really appreciate you guys being here, and we'll always keep track of what's going on in the industry by following PaymentEye ourselves.
Thank you.